Hi guys. So I've been working a little bit lately on this giant pile of ash firewood that we acquired recently. We had a bunch of logging done, and as a part of the logging operations, we wound up with a bunch of this firewood. It actually came from a different property, but it was just part of the deal with the logging company. And so now I'm working at turning this into firewood. Um, my original plan was to use my stump, my splitting block with the tire on it, and just bring it over here and do all the splitting this way. And made an attempt to do that, an unsuccessful attempt, because being kind of the middle of winter, that block was frozen into the ground so much so that I couldn't get it mobile, at least not not with a reasonable amount of effort expended. So I came here and started working without it, standing things up on end and splitting them in the normal way, and gradually realized two things. So one is that this ash splits amazingly easily. At least I find it very easy compared to the maple and yellow birch and stuff that I've been splitting. And number two is because we're sitting on almost a foot probably of compacted snow here, I don't really have to worry too much about the odd time burying this thing in the snow when I strike. And because this stuff splits so easily, I've gotten to the point where I don't even bother standing it up most of the time. If it's got knots and stuff and I need to generate some power, yeah, I'll stand it up. But most of them, I just split them laying down with kind of almost like a golf swing, and it works pretty well. So I thought I'd bring you along for that, because it's completely different from anything I've done before, and maybe it'll save somebody else a bit of a learning curve. And some of this may look a little bit like a Ray Mears technique. One of his videos from a number of years ago, for winter camping, he was straddling a piece of wood and splitting it between his legs, and I employ some of that too, and it works really nicely. So I guess let's split a bit of firewood. right at the top. Put the knot at the bottom, it'll split better. Hey guys, I just wanted to make one word of warning about this technique where you're straddling the log and swinging between your legs. So I mentioned Ray Mears outlined basically this idea in one of his videos a number of years ago. And I'm doing it a little bit differently for a couple of reasons. And the way I'm doing it isn't ideal, but it's just a pragmatic thing that I'm doing. The way he's recommending to do this, and the way I would recommend as well, is to have this log actually like well behind your legs, so that as the head comes here, if it deflects, it's not going to deflect into your leg. You'll see me sometimes doing this with the log in front, and there is some potential of deflecting into one leg or the other. And so I just want to caution you, especially if you're using a sharp axe, a cutting or a falling axe with a sharp blade, bad idea. This isn't. It's a dedicated splitting axe, and this is not sharp. I can run my finger along it and no damage being done. But that being said, even that's not good enough of a reason to be doing it sort of incorrectly. What I'm finding the main reason is this axe is a little bit too long for me to be doing this unless I'm standing up on top of a couple other pieces of wood. If I'm holding the axe properly, it's going to hit well below or well in front of the piece of wood. So I move myself a little bit further back so I can do this. I guess I could choke up a little bit, but it makes it difficult. But when I'm doing this, you'll notice, apart from me using a blunt axe, is that I'm not swinging all the way through, so I'm not driving this with a lot of force. I'm actually stopping my swing out in front, so even if I were to miss, it would not be driving into my leg. Yeah, so the proper technique is to be hitting it back here, but you can see how this is not handy for me. So if I wind up having to do it this way, it's just a sharp chop. And I'm not driving right through, so there's little chance of it deflecting and causing any problems with my legs. And even if it did touch me, which I've never had happen yet, I'm wearing some Kevlar and some heavy boots and stuff. Pretty, I think, relatively safe, considering the uneven footing and a handle that's too long and that kind of thing. But if you're doing this for yourself, until you get used to the technique, stand with the wood well between your legs, so that it can't possibly hit your legs, especially if you're doing this on a camping trip or something where you're maybe a little ways from any kind of assistance, or if you're just using one general purpose axe that has a very sharp point, sharp edge.